Oh, yeah. Hello to everybody. And once again, I'm here in front of the camera to talk to you about 20-25 minutes. So, as when we started this, the recording, I said there are two reasons. First, just to explain a little bit what I'm doing, how I am during this very challenging time. And then the most part of this recording, every time when we record, is talk a little bit, the Dharma things and how can we handle or deal with this kind of very challenging times. So therefore, first I will talk a little bit about, what I did yesterday and what I've done today, particularly in relation to this, virus. And so yesterday, most of my day, apart from eating and lying down a little bit during the day, I spend my time really writing certain things, including, today we have a meeting, and went back to some of those decisions that we made, how to handle this, how to deal with this, the virus when in terms of the preparation, when it comes, and so forth. So read many of those papers, and then, I wrote the agenda or points that I thought we may need to revisit. We may need to change a few things. And that was what I did yesterday, not very much interesting things. And I was just telling to Peter and Trey, today here weather is super, super hot. I can, although my place is maybe 30, 40 feet, feet above the ground, I already feel the heat from the outside, heat from built with the other buildings. So, we decided to have a meeting this morning. We said, okay, we'll have at 9, have a fresh time and pressure our mind and body. So we had this meeting, and the meeting was mainly really, as I just mentioned, to revisit some of the decisions that we made, and a particularly decision that we made to, to close the entire monastery from somewhere just outside the Sera monastery. There is a junction, 2 streets go. So at that junction we close. So the 4 or 5 monks, 24 hours, they are sitting there. And so there are some challenges, particularly how to handle the local Indian people, which I have mentioned this before. And so we talk a little bit on those things. And because also, on 14th, soon, I think this coming Tuesday or Wednesday, I think Tuesday, 14th, that the Indian central government, when they impose, lockdown for 21 days, that will finish, then we don't know what they're going to do. It seems it's same in the UK. those politicians, they are going to make decisions. And we are in a similar position in here, but in a more bigger scale. We're talking about lockdown, 1 more than billion human beings. And the more chaotic communities or the country. Anyway, I will not blame. So we don't know what's going to happen, but we have done few, if they're going to ease the lockdown, what we're going to do, and if they continue for another week or 2 weeks, how we're going to handle those. So those are the things, and it is, the long meeting from starting 9 and finished 11:45. So that's what I've done today, my relation to the dealing with this virus as a head of the monastery. And at the personal level, as I mentioned the other day, really morning woke up and set my intention. This is what I do while there was no virus around here, or before this virus come into existence. And particularly, because of this big risk, of this virus may going to reach to the monastery. So morning, I set my intention, not only the monastery, but also entire world, and to ease the pain, suffering, fears, anxieties from this, difficult time, and thinking about, what was there practically, what I can do with my right intention or the motivation. And that's what I normally do. And I did this morning the same, and then say some my blah blah prayers, and a little bit of meditation, a little bit of walk on the rooftop, and that is what I've been doing today up to now. Who knows after this recording? I don't have any particular plan. I'm going to read a little bit some books, and that's what I'm going to do after this recording. So, before I read 1 or 2 quotations from the same book, this which I did last time, I just want to remind ourselves, as Buddha did at his first teaching, say to his 5 main disciples, he said, be aware of dukkha. There is a dukkha. And this is what's really important for us to remind ourselves. Before this virus come into being, come into existence, dukkha, suffering was there. After this, since this virus come, there's a little bit of extra dukkha. Otherwise, dukkha has been with us all the time. But many of us not be aware of that, or not pay attention, or not being, mindful of that nature. And that is really something for us to constantly to remind ourselves. Whether this virus, and how long this virus is going to stay with us or not, dukkha is there within us, around us, and that is the reality, and that is the nature. And we should, work towards, to ease the dukkha using many different means and methods. And that is something, important, because we, at the moment, many of us, including myself, acting like this virus is the dukkha. There's no other dukkha. We sort of act like that, and that's not right. It's not correct. Before this virus come into existence, so many people, for example, not by disease, different diseases, but also man-made. For example, since Syria or the internal war started, how many people were killed? And more than several millions people are displaced from their homes. We respond, or only we think, or only we feel when we see, certain shocking images. Otherwise, we feel that's not in our country, that's not in my doorstep, that's not what not going to happen to me. Therefore, we just completely, ignore, or not really pay attention that much. Yes, this virus caused, the more than 1.5, now they count 1.5 million people got this virus, and more than 10,000 people lost their life. Number is high, but if you compare some of those man-made, not in past history, just last few months, as I just mentioned, in Syria, in Yemen, or in other parts of the world. So there is a tremendous sense of shock, or there's a tremendous sense of anxiety, worry is going on, because we think, this may going to reach me now. When these wars are taking place, we think, no, this is not going to happen to me. So there's no anxiety, there's no worry, there's no fear, and there's very little conversations are going around. And there's this little bit mistake element in there, in our reaction. Of course, we should care ourselves, we cherish ourselves. Of course, that is important. There's nothing wrong to cherish ourselves, our loved ones, our lives, but it is very important. We should, this at the moment, this sense of panic going around almost every country, every country, because we think, this is going to reach to me or my loved one. That's mainly why we are panicked, why we are very anxious or worried. And so that's really something important I thought to say a little bit on that. Okay. Because as I said, when Buddha taught his first teaching, he didn't say there's a dukkha here. He says there's a dukkha. And dukkha should be understood, and it should be fully understood. It is not my dukkha, he said, it's your dukkha, it is their dukkha. What he said, there's a dukkha, there's a suffering. And that's really something important as a follower of the teachings of the Buddha. Anyway, so today my reading is in this book, and there are two headlines. I get lost a little bit why that. Anyway, It's a mind and heart section, and within that there is a section called delusion. So I thought I'll read one or two from this section. And today's both reading, first two readings are very much from the, not religious, not Buddhist teachers, not Buddha, not the Tibetan Buddhist teacher, not the Theravadan Buddhist teachers, but of course one is very famous and most of the Westerners know. Other I don't know is a Japanese. So first I will read this. That under the heading of delusion, and there is another short sort of heading. It says widening the circle, and then the actual quotation. A human being experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for the few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures. So I want the Westerners, particularly those educated Westerners, or say who claim I'm great white readers, guess who's this person? I want you to guess this. It seems that it's a very famous quotation, and the person was also a very famous person. Almost most Westerner, who are educated, that person is in his or her, anyway. So I want you to guess first before I say that. So, Albert Einstein. So that is what he said. And I was really, when I read this, I thought, wow, that's a really amazing statement. A very, very, if there's no, if they hadn't written this name, I may say, oh, this might be a Buddhist teacher, a great Buddhist teacher. Or even I may say, oh, it is Mahayana Buddhist teacher. I don't know. So it is very, very nice. When I read this, this morning, I thought, because when we talk about altruistic mind or bodhicitta, in Tibetan, semgye, tekchen semgye. Tekchen is Mahayana bodhicitta, or semgye, generating bodhicitta. Of course, it has different components, as many of you know. But usually I sort of, when these two words, sem, gye, sem is the mind, gye has a different connotations in here, at least for me. Gyeva, it means to generate, to come in, to make it happen. Also, gye can be gyatye. Gyatye means to expand your mind. And this is exactly what he is saying, for me when I read this. To expand your thinking, your concern, your sense of caring, sense of understanding, sense of feeling, to expand from yourself to your loved ones, and then to expand to the others. Not to restrict to just yourself or just to your loved ones, and it is very, very powerful, and a very positive statement, because quite often, as he used here analogies, the prison, and quite often Buddhist teachers use similar, almost exactly the same analogy. People who have very self-centered attitude, they are in a prison, they are in a cage, metal cage. For example, the Lama Tsongkhapa use, the self-centered mind is like a metal cage. When you are in that metal cage, then very difficult to do things, very freely and very sort of, and that is what almost exactly, although he didn't use the self-centered mind, what he used, the analogy what he used is, in prison. So in prison, in the sense, mentally, your mind is not able, because you're just thinking yourself, just thinking small group, and that really stops your mind to think for wider, vast living beings, the feelings, thoughts, needs, and that's what I found this when I read this morning, and when particularly another word here that he used is saying, himself. His thoughts and feelings are something separated from the rest. So the separated. That means the concerns or the feelings or your feeling, your thing, it's just yourself. That's what we talk about, self-centered. Self-centered attitude, as you know, and in Buddhism, it is a very, what's called unhealthy attitude, unhealthy mental state. It really stops us to do many positive things. Not only that, it creates lots of unnecessary concerns, worries, fears. In Tibetan there is an expression. Expression is this. People who have, this kind of driven by the self-centered mind, those people, even if their room is completely empty, there's no possessions at all, but still they are constantly worried about thieves are going to come. Thieves or robberies are going to come. Although there's nothing to be taken away because the room is completely empty. But still, because of this mind, mind just thinking me, and me, unable to expand further than me or further than just small circle, as he is saying, then not only that mind will stop many, many positive things that we human beings can do, but also that mind will bring lots of unnecessary worries, fears, concerns, and very, what you call the unhealthy, if I use that term, stupid activities that we do. When this very blind, very Yeah, anyway, so that I found is very, very nice. In other words, my main point taking from this quotation, what he's saying is expand your thoughts, your feelings, your concerns, your caring, carings, care for well-being. Not just to me in a small circle, have the ability to expand to the, bigger and bigger, the numbers. And here, whether Albert Einstein used that term or not, I don't know. I hope he used that. So it is under the quotation, it might be true. But the last line, it says this. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures. Yeah. So I was told by some of my friends back in UK, use that living creature, then Westerner will understand. Don't use that often, sentient beings. They don't understand. I still haven't got that feeling. What's the difference between the living creatures and sentient beings? But anyway, that's our own. Don't use that much, that word, that sentient beings. So anyway, now the next one. Next one is by a Japanese man. So this one is talking about, in the title, that's at the top, there's title, Wandering Far. Now the actual quotation, not knowing how near the truth is, people seek it far away. What a pity. They are like one who, in the midst of water, cries pitifully for thirst, from thirst, or like the son of a rich man who wanders away among the poor. And that is, a Japanese man, don't know how to pronounce, Hakuin, 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 quite early, 1685 to 1768, much earlier than Albert Einstein. So I like this. I like this, this quotation, because I choose this. It is mainly saying, the happiness, richness, all those positive things, that we long, that we crave, that we like to have, is actually very near to us, not somewhere far, far away to, to go and seek. So from the Buddhist point of view, and it is almost when I was reading this, I thought it may have some connection. Today's the other reading, what you call the Dalai Lama's daily inspirational diary. He was saying that use our body and mind as an actual laboratory to do the examination, to do the analysis, to do the examination. And that is what here, this man, the things really, truly, meaningful and long-lasting, joyful, fulfilling, are not somewhere far, far away. They are around within us. So that, close to the teachings of the Buddha, Buddha said, oneself is one's own protector. Oneself is one's own protector. Or sometimes saying, so that is really something similar to what this Japanese guy is saying. To make ourselves joyful, have what you call the sense of satisfaction, deep sense of satisfaction, contentment, deep sense of contentment, and the genuine sense of happiness will going to happen when we really, nurture our thoughts, emotions, and those mental states, and of course our behavior, our activities. Of course, external facilities will fulfill some of our desires, some of our yearning, longing, but they are very limited. They don't have the capacity to fulfill our deep yearning and longing. Is very limited. And that's what Buddha said again and again, and subsequently Buddhist teachers have said. So therefore, to us in this very challenging time, very difficult time, just say, for example, next day, tomorrow, 10th of April, when we woke up, this coronavirus completely had gone. We may feel a little bit, okay, that's gone. That kind of joy, that kind of feeling of sense of joy or fulfillment will be just longest maybe a day. After that, that will there isn't that much feeling of fulfillment, joy. Of course, the joy, because that means not many lives were lost by this virus. I want to say this morning when I was thinking about how many people, how many lives are lost. All this BBC, they're counting, and they think, maybe a little bit more than this or a little bit less than this. They are doing the numbers, like in the UK. And when I was reading that, and it's somehow, whatever the reason, I don't know, somehow suddenly in my head, there is an image. There is an image of many years ago, one time before I came to West. One time I was visiting Varanasi, that's great, famous city, and went to the Ghat, that river Ganges. And how many bodies are cremating there? And that's every day. Every day. There are queues. And same when I was back, that image came into mind. Yeah, that is happening all the time. Number is much higher than what we are counting right here and now, every day, I think. Much higher. Of course, by the different causes. So, the point what I'm making here is this. The long-lasting the genuine, long-lasting fulfillment, sense of deep relaxation, will come when we really invest, when we really pay attention to within ourselves, not something outside, far away from us. And this is what this Japanese master is saying, and he was saying this, I like that analogy, what he says, in the midst of water, crying pitifully from thirst, and that sort of thing. It is perfectly possible, that if we haven't really, raise our awareness, raise our mindfulness, raise our attention, pay our, right here and now, what's happening, not just during this challenging time, all the time, have that kind of ability. As I've suggested, morning, spend your time, set your intention, and during the day, every now and then, briefly, remind that in positive intention that you have set. And then, check what's going on, what's going around you, and if there are sort of mentally, physically, verbally, things are not very, not working according to the morning intention that you've set, make correction. If things are going according to your morning intention, how you said, then rejoice. To say to yourself, well done, continue. And that way we will see the changes, real changes. Sitting on the meditation cushion is useful. Of course, it is very, very useful. That will gradually, bring the sense of relaxation, sense of calmness, sense of. But it is also important. I always say this: important to, while we are interacting with the other human beings, those times are important to be fully alert, fully aware of one's role. And that is here, in other words, talking about be close to yourself, what you do, what you think, what you act, and so on and so forth. And I find this very, very, very nice. So my last one, very short one, and this is from William James from America, I think. Yeah. Is this one? Which I want to read a small one. Oh no, there's one I thought I'm going to read, a short one, but I didn't mark it. The point, the quotation was, couldn't find where it is, saying that the small things that will make us happy. Small things to make us happy, to make us to feel sort of, some kind of fulfilling, some kind of, the deep sense of satisfaction. Many by those small things. And that's what I thought I'll read that, but I didn't mark that quotation, maybe another time. So that's what go with this Japanese guy. When we, by our nature, we tend to have, if we something we like to have, we like to have a big, numbers, huge numbers, and so on and so forth. Or if you want to eliminate, or if you want to separate or distance, We want to distance completely, all right here and now. But in reality, that's not how it works. So small things. So to really to bring sense of joy, sense of fulfillment, sense of happiness within ourselves, around us, and other people, and this very challenging time. That many of us can't do dramatic things. But what we can do the small things. We can do the small things. And that is something useful. Try to do the small things that we can do to support, to help, to reach out. And then, that way we can gradually to extend, or as Einstein said, to extend our thoughts, feelings to the, all living creatures. And to extending that kind of our thoughts and eventually our actions for the many will come bit by bit by bit. And our mind, when we train our minds, and it mainly through that, gradually, not suddenly, gradually, and our mind will learn. We will learn. Our body language will change. How we speak will change, bit by bit. So I think that is enough my blah blah. Yeah, I think I must stop here. Okay. Take care and be happy. Not easy time, but try to be happy. To try to see the challenging time. What can you do? Positive things to yourself and to others. Okay, thank you. Yeah.